President Cyril Ramaphosa and Gauteng Premier David Makhura will this morning visit sites identified as COVID-19 facilities in the province. The two are expected to start at the Nasrec Expo Centre, where we're broadcasting from here in Johannesburg. Nasrec has been identified as an isolation facility for COVID-19 patients. Gauteng has recorded 1,252 confirmed coronavirus cases. Our reporter, Samkele Maseko, is at the Nasrec Expo Centre. Let's go there live now. Samkele, a very good morning to you. Give us a sense of expectation where you are.
Yes, indeed, Desiree. President Cyril Ramaphosa will this morning at 11 o'clock come here to the Nasrec Expo Centre to do a walkabout at this makeshift self-isolation/quarantine hospital that has been designated and has been constructed by the Gauteng provincial government and mainly the Gauteng Department of Health, led by MEC of Health, Dr. Bandile Masuku. This comes after the backdrop of the president's address to the nation last night in announcing the 5 stages of the COVID-19 pandemic that the Command Council led by the President has resolved upon in that particular seat that is led by the various ministers, led by the President and the Deputy President, alongside those who are advising the Minister of Health and President Cyril Ramaphosa on how the country is going to deal with this particular pandemic of COVID-19. Basically saying that South Africa is still in the early stages of this particular pandemic. We are yet to go into the winter period where it's estimated that the number of cases of this COVID-19 virus is going to increase. Gauteng alone sits at about 1,252 cases. Yesterday alone in the countrywide, there was 318 confirmed cases of the COVID-19 pandemic, taking the staggering number to about 3,903 of South Africans who are now infected by this particular pandemic. The President is expected to arrive here at 11 alongside the MEC of Health, Dr. Bandile Masuku, and the Premier of Gauteng, David Makhura, to inspect this 500-bed makeshift self-quarantine and self-isolation hospital that has been set up to deal with this particular pandemic in Gauteng.
Samkele, the last time we saw that facility was at the launch and there were only bare beds with no bedding. Do we know if there has been any improvements in terms of medical facilities that have been installed?
At this point in time, in that particular last visit that our colleague Criselda Lewis was here when it was launched by the MEC of Health, Dr. Bandile Masuku, he did say that in the coming weeks, medical facilities, screens will be set up in this particular venue, and those particular instruments that have needed to be been set up have been brought to this particular facility and will be unveiled when the President makes the walkabout here in this morning at about 11 o'clock, particularly looking that the number of cases in the country are rising, and particularly looking at that Gauteng is just dropped to number 2 of the provinces that are highly infected and affected by this particular pandemic, just below the Western Cape, which overtook Gauteng yesterday. So these are some of the unveilings that the President will be being shown by the MEC of Health, Dr. Bandile Masuku, on this particular pandemic. But all the systems that needed to be put in place when it was launched, this particular hospital, by the MEC of Health, Dr. Bandile Masuku, are now in place and are ready for the President to unveil it and officially open it for those cases that will be brought here to be self-isolated and for those who need to be quarantined. There are 500 beds that have been set up. In the meantime, Dr. Bandile Masuku said they will be looking in the near future to be increasing these numbers should there be available resources to do so in the province, and particularly here in Johannesburg at the Nasrec Expo Centre, where this hospital will be taking place, and that those who need to come here, there will be 500 beds available for them. You'd remember that President Cyril Ramaphosa in his address last night did mention about 3 or 4 cities that are the epicenter of this particular pandemic. He named Buffalo City, eThekwini, Johannesburg, Ekurhuleni, and a city in the Western Cape as well that is in that top list of those areas that are heavily affected by this particular pandemic.
Samkele, how much media interest is there in the unveiling of the centre?
At this point in time, we can't say because I've been looking around. It's only us here as the SABC because the president is going to be arriving here at about 10:30 and his engagement will start at about 11 this morning. So those who may be interested will be making their way. But obviously, you'd remember, Desiree, that the government has also appealed to us within the media fraternity to minimize coming to events and that pool feeds should be provided. I saw in the government statement that was issued out in the name of the spokesperson of President Cyril Ramaphosa, Mrs. Kusala Diko, yesterday, they said that a pool feed will be provided to other media houses in order to minimize the contact of journalists as well in these particular areas, in order to minimize the number of people that come to these facilities. And remember that there's a restriction that there should be no gatherings of people over 100 that was gazetted by government and stated in President Cyril Ramaphosa's first announcement that there would be a lockdown in the country. Even yesterday, when the president addressed the nation and spoke about the easing of the lockdown from stage 5 to stage 4 or level 4 now, that will kickstart on the 1st of May. He did still say that certain restrictions will remain in place, like large gatherings are still prohibited. Gatherings of more than 100 people are still prohibited. So there must be less than 100 people at each point in time in a public gathering. So those restrictions are still in place and they still also apply for us as practicing media practitioners.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that update, Samkele, and we'll be sure to cross to you as soon as the president arrives. Samkele Maseko there, our colleague. Not